Those times were tough. All rights to the web were completely sold.
The industry faces many global problems.
Artists are easy to offend. Game developers even more so.
The moderators deserve special praise.
So many memories are flooding back.
It's hard. You need to get ready for this. Otherwise, you'll just run out of money and we'll have to close.
But you won't get any traffic later either.
Stick in some clickbait logos, copy it, clone it. No advertising, no subscription or hidden payments.
Got it. Hi, my dear friends. My dear developers of beautiful games. Today in this cozy studio, we've gathered together with our friends, our partners. Allow me to introduce Evgeny and Nikita from Yohoho Games Studio. You are the co-founders of the studio. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nikita.
Hi. I'm glad to see you again, especially considering the awesome reason why we're here. It reminds me of our conversation in Turkey and the meeting we held there. Back when you were still undecided about the prospects of publishing your games on the web. And now, quite a long while later, I think it's been about a year.
Almost.
Since that moment last summer. Your breakout hit is now available on our platform. And we can see that it's been doing quite well. Could you please share your overall impression of working with the web? Have we met your expectations of working with the Yandex gaming platform?
Well, for starters, we've been designing games for many years. I've been doing it for 15 years. Yohoho Games is celebrating its 7th anniversary this summer. I started my career with Flash games. About 7 to 8 years ago, we shifted to mobile games. And it's been about 6 months since we started developing web games for Yandex Games. We first heard about web games a long time ago, actually. I mean, this technology has been around for many years. Well, when we transferred from Flash to mobile games, it was clear that Flash technology would be gradually phased out by 2020, and it was completely discontinued the same year. Somehow we made the transition to the mobile market. That market was promising and was rapidly developing, experiencing a hype. We started actively exploring it and gradually moved away from the Flash and web game markets. We actually saw many examples of guys with awesome games, awesome franchises like Red Ball, which had millions of players, who, some 10 years ago, sold absolutely all their rights for the web, permanently forever for some fixed sum of money, and they regret it now. Thank God we didn't make that mistake. I mean, we were presented with an opportunity to make a web game. What distinguishes our game, Red Ball, especially Red Ball 4, our most popular franchise, is that it was originally developed using the old Cocos framework, but over time we rewrote it on Unity. And when we had the opportunity to create a WebGL version, with Yandex Games, we seized the opportunity. It didn't take much time, and we decided to give it a try following your suggestion. Thank you. Sometimes we all need a bit of motivation.
A boost.
A boost, right? We have no regrets, and we'll share the outcomes with you on this podcast.
Naturally. Could you tell us, please, did the porting process take little time? Did you say it was quick? Is optimization crucial for web platforms? The reason I ask is because modern frameworks offer many solutions that help transfer to the web faster. But developers often fail to dedicate sufficient time to optimization. They only test the game on the most up-to-date devices. They see that the game can be launched and performs well, but they neglect performance on lower-end and legacy Android devices, thinking the port was successful. However, when the game reaches a broader audience, Many players experience issues with the loading time, with the overall performance of the game in the process, and eventually they give it up. They can't play it. Please share your experience with porting.
Actually, yeah, it's a particular challenge on the web. It's the fundamental cornerstone. Because we have to treat optimization diligently. We aim to ensure compatibility across as many devices as possible. And the web encompasses an enormous amount of devices, Yandex included, TV sets, mobile devices, computers, and we must check and test everything. Check all devices that the game works on to prevent any player from feeling excluded, among other things. And what we basically do, the porting of our project took about a month.
Sounds serious.
But that's total time. It doesn't mean we worked on it nonstop for a month. We only had one person on it. But here we're talking about transferring from the mobile. But the size difference, our mobile version is about 130 megabytes, but our web version is just 30 megabytes. We compressed it as much as possible for optimal player experience. We did our best, but we still have complaints coming our way.
Do you respond to them?
We're doing our best. We take notes, monitor, and fix everything that we find as we work. We don't always manage to fix everything immediately, but we do our best. We want our players to have fun.
I agree. As a platform, we also fight for this. We work hard to ensure that each of our players has the best possible experience.
I'd like to add,
Go ahead.
speaking of the Yandex platform, our special thanks to the moderators who select the projects because the feedback we were getting from them. We are working mostly with the mobile market now. For that, we do all the QA in full. I mean, we have to do all this work, or our partners, publishers do this. But Yandex is the one platform that handles this aspect thoroughly and effectively, in our view.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The guys will be pleased to hear this.
I'd also like to add something. Speaking of the platform, about 7 to 8 years ago, there was still significant interest in HTML5 games. And there were propositions coming our way to port Red Bull 4. It's quite a popular game for mobile phones, and they wanted to transfer it to HTML5. What prevented me from doing that as a game creator? What was the problem? People were ready to spend their own money to port our game. They'd say, just let us do that. Transfer the rights and we'll port it. I'd go there to evaluate the gaming experience. I say this now because we've mentioned our players' experience. I would go and see how it looked, how it was played, and it was, well, it was extremely far from the native experience. And very far from the way it's played now in the modern world. On Yandex Games again, on desktops and phones. Now, it's a pleasant experience. You can open it, you can download an app, a browser. The Yandex browser, you won't see any upper bar. You'll have the opportunity to disable ads for a small fee, like 10 rubles per day. It enables you to make it full screen and play without any problems. You can save your progress and use all modern testing methods. A/B testing. I mean, it all looks serious. And like any other game creators, we want to... For us, it's a major product, especially one that took 15 years to develop. It's like a child to you. You don't want to give your child away to a place with heaps of ads and where everything works badly. We don't want that. When we saw that it was convenient and awesome, that players were to get the same experience as with native apps on Google Play and the App Store, well, why not? There's an audience, let people play. Let them relive their childhood, as many have told us. Thank you for our childhood.
You know, it's very interesting to see the industry changing. I mean, since you and I have been working in it for quite some time, there was a boom of games on social media. Browser games on some platforms drew massive traffic. Then, rather unexpectedly, everything began to decline in favor of mobile development. Why do you think at that point, as you rightly noted, web rights were given away by many people to a third party so that the creators could have at least some dividends from it, allowing them to do ports without any support? Why do you think people underestimated browser games and their future prospects? And why did everyone suddenly shift to mobile? Clearly, it was rapidly growing, but no one understood the capacity. No one could predict when this growth would plateau, which has been the trend over the past few years.
Yeah.
No one could have imagined that such a surge of developers would appear, or that such a large volume of content would flood the app stores. Essentially, a global competition ensued for players' attention in the mobile gaming market. Why was the web so underestimated? It was clear that browsers would continue to evolve, that computing power would increase, and game performance would improve. Frameworks were expected to adapt to these changes. What do you think was the reason for this?
If we look back about 15 years, those times were tough. There were flash games. There were, if I have to briefly explain it, some web portals with heaps of small games. It's something like modern web portals with WebGL games and HTML5 games. There were flash games in the social player games. We were making small games. That's how we conceived Red Ball. It was a small game for a web portal with flash games. So our business was built in a way that we didn't have any control over the game. There were 1,000 of these portals. When we released a game on a certain portal, like Congregate, Newgrounds, the most popular ones, we de facto lost control over the game. Our mindset was simply to make a game, release it, and then it gets distributed. You don't have any control whatsoever over this game. You can't update it if it has a bug. You can't support content for it. You see, this is what the situation was like. You were paid a fixed sum of money. There was an auction.
Do you mean a license fee?
Yeah, right. There was an auction. It was called the Flash Game License. You'd release your game there and portals would bid on it. Selecting games, you received a fixed payment. That was it. You had to start working on a new game. Of course, there were deals with the developers, with a few games under their belt, like ourselves. We were entitled to a certain revenue share from the portal's ad revenue, but there was a cap and you couldn't exceed it. So you weren't able to continually support the game, care for your users, fix the bugs, have any control, test, or modify anything in the game. It just wasn't an option. Our approach was simple: create the game, release it, then move on to the next thing. The next part of this game or another game. This mindset unfortunately backfired on developers. It caused us to treat the games as mere products. We had a franchise, a name, and so on. But ultimately, we had no control over the game after release. We gave it up, then moved on to the next project. We sold our rights and so on. Today, things are different. Now, there's the long tail of sales, control, testing, user care, and so on, all of which have shifted the focus, especially when we ported our game Red Bull 4 to mobile, to Google Play and the App Store. It was a completely different world. Like it wasn't enough, users started migrating away from those web portals, likely because it was simply more convenient. I've explained it, right? Of course, to use a mobile phone, as they were becoming popular, as they were conquering the world, it was simply more convenient to play a native game. Everything is full screen, nothing lags, and there are no performance issues. Plus, you get regular updates. Why would I play Red Bull 4 on Flash in a lame browser with an address bar that obscures everything? I'd rather download the game from the App Store or Google Play and just play it. Therefore, I think what happened was that users just migrated. And naturally, Flash had performance problems, which were only highlighted more on mobile platforms where they had control. Flash technology lacked all of this. Gradually, it was phased out over many years. By 2020, Flash was declared obsolete. The final nail in its coffin was officially driven then.
I believe such shifts began even in the mid-2010s.
On the other hand, as I recall, Flash games, these portals where you can check the top 5 games every day, every week, every month with prizes. I mean, it was awesome. There was even a conference called Flash Gam. It was a very big community, a very vibrant and creative one, where people devoted more attention to everything we made was packed into an SVF file, and you threw it away. And that was it. You didn't have any control over it whatsoever. Whatever you put in there just flew away. And it was a creative flight. And some mechanics were very interesting. Many mobile titles originated from Flash. We shouldn't overlook that.
Including ours.
If we cast a glance now on the content that is now on the web, it becomes clear that beyond the typical instant games, there are lots of mid-core games. There are network shooters with a large amount of content, with in-game purchases, with socialization. From the standpoint of performance, what do you think about the mid-core games on the web? To what extent are they close to native games? I mean, in multiplayer games, it's highly important to maintain a high-speed connection and track everything that happens. Did you manage to get where you wanted or not? How do you see this? What is special about it?
Special? I've actually seen a lot of projects like this. I mean, there are a lot of games like this on Yandex too. And on their own sites. I mean, people make their projects and a community is formed around them. It's a difficult task, especially when building a web-based multiplayer game. We've discussed optimization before. It's tricky, you know. But forming a community is rewarding. With so many different players, diverse interests emerge. They all want different types of projects and games. It's awesome that Midcore does great on the web. I think it's very beneficial for the platform as a whole. I mean, it enables you to involve the audience, any genre, any settings, and so on. Multiplayer projects too. They expand the platform's audience and support other developers as well, not just the creators of a specific game. Many players of multiplayer games also engage with casual games. The audience intersects. It helps everyone.
In between raids.
Right, right. It's actually so. Personally, as someone who primarily plays on PC, I still check out web-based projects from time to time. I love having fun. I enjoy a good shooter.
What I'm hearing here is that the way we perceive content, as Evgeny mentioned, is changing. It used to be perceived as a way to get a quick dopamine hit, a brief game for 15 minutes. But now we see a lot of mid-core projects that transfer to the web. What it tells us is that users migrate there for a long time. And the culture of PC gaming you've mentioned, or the culture of multiplayer games for mobiles, the top title ones, is, as I see it, more or less equal to what is happening now on the web with the way this type of content is perceived.
I think you're right.
But the industry faces many global problems, since the industry is growing and developing too. One of these problems relates to managing traffic on mobile platforms. I mean, the whole market is discussing this. Everyone is quite aware of it. The method of attracting traffic on the web in the apps is different. The target action a user takes when opening a mobile app is to install. So they must be constantly exposed to ads. They must take an interest in some gaming mechanics. They must appreciate the visuals, dynamics, engaging moments. And at some point, they open the Google Play or the Apple Store and download this app. Now we have to win the battle for their attention amid everything else in their lives to get them to open and play it. This means targeting a very specific action. It involves a lengthy life cycle for the app. Certain events must occur in a user's life before they consider deleting it or before they decide to open it again. Accordingly, since there are thousands of gaming companies in the world,
More, actually.
more, tens of thousands, depending on how you define a company, each of them buys something. Each of them needs some traffic. On the web, there's a huge difference because we, for example, we always count certain effective actions in this context. For example, we count an action of logging into a game and playing for several minutes. We consider this target traffic, it went in, everything's fine. If we compare conversions on the web and in the apps, but they are drastically different. On the web, it's more efficient, convenient, and easier because a person only has to click. It takes only one click.
Yep.
Having said that, an app carries more value for a user because it represents a more deliberate action. They made a decision to download an application. They live on with it for longer. On the web, it's simpler. One mouse click lets them quickly form an impression of whether they like it or not. What do you think? The culture of attracting traffic to these games, a user's behavior. To what extent are they different on the web and in the apps? Take Red Ball as an example.
Well, we've been on the mobile market for how many? Over 10 years? And we still remember the time when we could just release a game and it organically attracted some traffic. Before having to buy traffic some 10 years ago, it was, of course, small. But now the situation has completely reversed. Now we are fighting so hard for a user's attention on the mobile market, where the proportion of purchased traffic now exceeds organic or featured traffic from platforms. Different genres do differently, you know. But overall, the situation is as we described. It's not enough to just make an awesome game, to just release it with the hope that it miraculously go viral. Though there are rare exceptions, like Among Us, for example. Once a year it happens. And immediately a flood of clones follows. It can happen. Feature 2. It's something you can hope for, but it's not likely to happen. Red Ball got lucky in this regard. Our example falls under a survivor's mistake, to be honest. Red Ball 4 went really viral on YouTube. The Google Play algorithms took it on, and they started to feature this game. This provided for a very long tail of sales, a tail of downloads. As a matter of fact, we currently do not buy any traffic for Red Ball 4. And even at some point our feature traffic changed. It had always been larger than the search traffic, than direct search. Our search traffic now dominates the feature traffic in Google Play. People know this franchise so well that they just search for it directly. This is the current situation with Red Ball in the mobile market, where our audience already knows us and comes along to get the game, using direct searches or Google's features. The second part of our business in Yohoho Games involves industrial genres. Here, the competition for users is intense. We make idle games, sandbox games where prototypes are being developed. We have a dedicated team of 15 and we're developing prototypes in an iterative way. We're testing them with the help of publishers. In cooperation with them, we monitor metrics. So this competition for users is something we're deeply familiar with. It's hard, you have to be ready for it. It's not as fun as when you create a game and it all works out. though it may sometimes feel like a lottery. Now, it's purely business. I mean, you do iterations, you make prototypes, you monitor metrics, and you base your actions on the market. We monitor gaming analytics. We use a mobile analytics service to monitor the market. And actually, the situation is that out of tens of thousands of games released each month on average on Google Play, again, we're only talking about the games that were indexed somewhere in the system that have either earned $100 or received 1,000 downloads. We don't even consider the rest of the iceberg with 0 downloads. Out of these 10,000 games, only 2 or 3% gain traffic and pay off. They get checks that are more or less similar to a budget for designing a game. And this budget is growing all the time as the quality demands are growing. Therefore, it's a continuously evolving business, as creative as ever. But it's not just about trying to mechanically produce a hit game. You still need an idea, you still need some kind of vision. I mean, the team must have it. The guys who designed the game. So these models are very different. Red Ball was fortunate. It was a confluence of the right circumstances.
Right place at the right time.
Yes, we were at the right place at the right time. The right YouTubers made the right videos. All of this plays along with algorithms. That's one part of the story. The second part that we've been developing for about 2 years involves industrial games that are targeted for motivational traffic. Sorry to say it, but on the mobile market, we can no longer rely on featured traffic or viral success. It's possible, but extremely unlikely, practically a 0% chance.
1/1,000,000%.
Yes, that's right.
Platforms used to give good traffic, and very few people used to know how to make games.
But that was to change.
Drastically, almost instantly, just like that.
Yes, that's right. At the same time, there's a crazy amount of expertise in these areas. I mean, on how to find the best traffic that matches the best and so on.
Everyone's become an expert.
Yeah, so many hypotheses. So now UA has become a separate industry within an industry.
Yeah.
Gaming marketing differs significantly from traditional marketing. It has its own unique set of challenges. You know what? I think your case is unique, all things considered. Because of the virality Evgeny has mentioned, you've managed to reach some incredible numbers. You had 1.5 billion views, those videos.
Very many.
In the aggregate, I mean.
Some of our videos got over 100 million views.
How did that happen?
It's the children's audience.
Does that audience drive virality?
Now they've grown up and write to us, thank you for our childhood.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's the children's audience with a specific content consumption, especially on YouTube. And I've noticed it with my own children too. Videos aimed at children can achieve astounding view counts. Millions, tens of millions, even hundreds of millions. They might watch a single video
10 times.
Unlike adults who watch once and move on to something new, always needing fresh content. But kids can watch the same videos. There are some channels that issue a video about Red Ball every day, and they get billions of views in the aggregate. A person shoots a video about Red Ball every day. Like that, yeah.
It's time to set up our own channel.
Right.
And it's not just one channel like this.
Awesome.
In different countries, which is great.
How did this happen? I think they don't just do it for pleasure. Those content makers, it just works. People, especially children, want to watch these videos. If there wasn't an audience for it, they wouldn't make them and there wouldn't be so many channels regularly releasing such videos. So it must be interesting to watch. And we used to have a flash game. And being a simple and naive guy, I didn't protect it in any way. I mean, I would just release it, oh, I forgot to do obfuscation. Well, it's okay. Anyone could take this game, decompile it using special software, and insert anything. We've seen videos where all sorts of things were inserted into the game. Om gets inserted instead of Red Bull.
Zombies too.
Anything at all. We have no connection to these modifications. And we don't profit from them. All of this spreads like a virus. It's just because I forgot to protect my Flash game back in the day. And people hacked it?
Fatefully.
Fatefully, right?
And it works on its own. We've actually created more Red Balls, many versions, and we tried to generate some buzz with them, especially with our runner, but it didn't work out. When we did it,
On purpose.
it doesn't work out when done on purpose. It only did when the audience started it on their own. That's why we got this kind of result. So it wouldn't have worked out if we'd done it, but it could have. They didn't treat marketing as seriously back in the day, you know.
It's awesome. Is this a serious driver for you? For your business? That eventually converted into all these installations, and people basically keep playing the game up to this day.
Yes.
Well, okay. Reflecting on your launch on Yandex Games, many of our developers ask us questions about how it generally works. How do we get traffic? If we're talking about your Red Ball, you get good organic growth. You have quite a sustainable DAU, good retention. And you've been keeping up with this rate for a long time. Yandex has recommender algorithms, that's what they're called. When a game is released on the platform, for the first few weeks, the recommender collects statistics. How do users behave in a game? What is generally happening? What about the game's monetization? You have to know these things.
Oh, we do.
Developers often get confused. When they were working on the game, especially if they didn't do test buyouts, on any territories they might think they've got an excellent game. It's really awesome. They've invested a lot of effort, money, and time, so it's destined to be a success. It's true. It can really be true. But in some cases, it just doesn't happen. The recommender was monitoring it for several weeks and realized that the time of the sessions is very short, retention is low. I don't know, people give low rates to the game because, as we've discussed, its optimization was not done well.
It could be anything.
Anything. Your case clearly demonstrates how quickly you were able to attract and retain a large audience, and retain it for a very long time. Could you share with our developers some advice on how to achieve this? How can they set up their systems so that the recommender identifies their game as high quality?
I don't think there's any golden rule for developers. I mean, you've mentioned the main metrics. Retention, the user's rating, and the time, the play time. The time spent playing. What in fact does impact that, the quality of the product. Overall, if the gameplay is fun, interesting for players to keep playing, retention is very important. A lot hinges on it. To make a high-quality game, it's not just about the visuals, but the overall game experience. We're talking about the game as a whole. And this is, we think, very important. It's very important for the players. They're not fools, you know. They know what the game is about and whether it's interesting for them. To start with, you need to grab the player's attention quickly within the first few minutes so they last longer. This initial interest helps ensure they continue playing your game, return to it regularly, and enjoy their experience. So that's the main recommendation I would give.
Yeah, there's no universal recommendation. I'd say take your player's place. They have hundreds of games right in front of them. Where does it all start? It starts with a player noticing the icon of your game. What should it look like? We're not talking here about clickbaiting, it's that it must convey your game's essence and be visually appealing. It should stand out somehow, not drown in the mass of other game icons. Diving deeper into what's inside your game, well, what elements can hook a player? Interesting gameplay. If we talk about casual games, they don't have such high demands for graphics. Here, artistic elements aren't as expensive compared to mobile games, where the bar is set very high. You can hook them with gameplay. Don't forget the tutorial. Don't forget about optimization. With any gameplay, if it stalls, all your efforts are wasted. Therefore, put yourself in the player's shoes. You have all the tools at your disposal, all the statistics. Look at them and review all the parameters we've discussed. I can tell you what used to happen with Flash games. You choose a game and download it. These are my kind of fireside chats. My flashbacks.
Your Vietnam flashbacks.
My Vietnam syndrome, right? You know, it was just harsh. You release a game on a portal, and then you pray for the rating to be at least 3.5. If it's lower than 3.5, like 3, it's game over. You might as well start making your next game. Nobody would pick it up, it won't make it into the daily listing, it won't get featured on the congregate listing. That's it will just disappear, no one will take it. Hundreds, thousands of portals, but nobody will take it. Maybe 2 or 3 portals and that's it.
No one knew the word analytics back then.
Yeah, no analytics, no control. I've told you about it. If the rating is 4 or higher, you're good. It's okay, you're safe to continue. It is going to be a hit game. Hundreds and thousands of portals. Again, no control, you can't change anything. You can only learn your lessons for the next release. Now we have all the tools of the adult world. And the access threshold is comparatively low. All the tools are here for you. You can see all the parameters, do A/B tests, do ISO optimization, optimization of text, images, and icons. You can release updates and fix bugs.
You can see the analytics and analyze how users behave in the game. Very important.
Great thing.
I'd like to talk more about this. Our conversation here can be
recorded.
First of all, it's being recorded, and secondly, it can be useful for a great number of developers out there. I, for one, have a nephew who is 12. For 2 years, he's been coding on Unity.
I envy him.
In many genres.
Awesome.
I agree. We didn't used to have anything like this when we were kids. Today, there are tons of schools and courses that teach this. Whatever you like. Naturally, the quality varies greatly.
Yeah.
But to put it imaginatively, the access threshold for game development, especially for young coders, skepticism aside, is quite low now. It's very easy to jump in and start realizing your ideas. On Yandex Games, there are a huge amount of games made by young developers. Many of them, I think, judging by some comments, they kind of underestimate analytics as an assessment tool for their game and user behavior, among other things. Tell me what aces you use. What can you recommend about this? What should be considered first? How do you actually recommend launching a game? Should you do soft launches in an A/B testing format from the start? What do you recommend?
Okay, look, speaking about young developers, those boys who are younger and now like we used to be, as I was for sure, who believe their game is the best, as good as it can get.
And you can't change their mind.
Yeah, we're talking about a young and still naive developer.
What if they're right?
Sometimes they are. Not always, but sometimes. As for tools, I think there are millions of them. that allow you to analyze everything, look at ASO. And for young devs, there are various free tools. Analytics and all, tons of resources are available now. Back in our day, we could only dream about it. Now the problem is you might not have enough time to...
And there are only 24 hours in a day. You can find the time, but the amount of information is so vast. I open YouTube, your channel, there are loads of videos. They have step-by-step instructions from A to Z on how to do it. I mean, if you have the will even a little bit, you can get to the bottom of any issue. For young developers, my recommendation would be, even before they release anything on the store, optimize anything and so on, they should test it, show their game to like-minded people, their target audience, if the game is made for certain people. If the game isn't made for a specific audience, at least show it to your friends. Don't close up. Many people make this mistake. That's how I see it. I made a game, it's perfect. I don't need any advice. It's very ambitious. I see artists are easy to offend. And a game dev is even easier. I mean, when people start to give them any kind of feedback, and in our company, we start with things that need fixing. Nobody praises you, they say, here, you got it wrong. You need to fix this pixel.
That's it, he got offended.
But what needs to be done here? You make a product, a game that would be used by not just one person, but hundreds, and thousands, or maybe even millions. And every gaming experience is unique naturally, but there are some common elements. If you test the game with even 10 people, you can notice them. Like nobody can finish your first level, but you've made 100 of them. What is the use of all these levels if people don't know what to do on the first or second level? Maybe you should pay attention to this. Show your game in the earliest stages. Don't be afraid to.
Show the core gameplay.
Just your core gameplay, even before the graphics, even before you make the graphics. Just be open about this part. Because if you don't do this, you're setting yourself up for burnout. You'll get burnout because if you make a game, you devote time to it, you create some kind of art, you learn how to do all kinds of things, releasing, passing moderation, fixing the SDK, all of it takes a lot of time. And naturally, any dev wants people to play their game, to get good ratings.
Release faster?
Release faster, yeah. On the mobile market, nothing happens fast. Lots of work takes you nowhere, but we've been doing it for a long time and we're ready for it. But if we're talking about a young developer, they all want to get some kind of result. And actually, the platform enables you to do all of that. What could be better than seeing your game played by hundreds or thousands of people, even if you don't earn much? I'd recommend not chasing big profits. Don't picture millions of dollars and millions of players. Let it be a small profit. Let it be just 5,000 to 10,000 a month on your game portfolio. It's also helpful. You'll be getting your analytics, feedback on your games. You can make your next games better. You'll earn some funds. You can become an individual entrepreneur at the age of 14 now. You can make money and pay taxes legally. It all happens in Russia in your banking app. I mean, it's very easy. The entry threshold in the mobile market is much higher. Now, as nobody works with us directly, you need a foreign company, a bank account, managing your taxes and so on. It takes lots of time. Correspondence in English, iteration tests. And well, the competition is super high too. Naturally, we have a team working on that. We have other kinds of budgets. We have a professional grown-up development process in place. Nevertheless, if I were a young developer, if I were 10 or 20 years younger now, I would start on the web, specifically on Yandex Games, because it's an ideal place to start. and avoid fast burnout. And the likelihood for you to continue making games is quite high. If you're passionate about that and not just mildly interested, not just stopping by hoping for a quick fortune, but are truly into games, you're all about games and you love them, you know. Like we do, it's a good chance for you, I mean it.
Also, your chances for success are higher when you're after a good product, not just money.
My experience confirms that. So does the experience of my friends and colleagues. It shows that success comes when you least expect it. Secondly, it comes when you have worked very hard and you've been working hard keeping the product in mind and the way end users are going to use it instead of just chasing after money. Money might be a good motivator. It's sad to make games and not earn anything for it. Game development can be a hobby, I can't deny that. But clearly you can't sustain it without financial outcomes that enable you to make the next game. We know cases from mobile game development where to make a hit game. Our former employee created a game, a simple and primitive one, totally casual, that gained 200 million installations. You can log into the store and check, there's a bunch of smileys. You just connect them with your finger. What could be simpler? Anyone seeing it might think, oh, I can make a game like this and get millions of installations. But before making this game, he had created 100 prototypes in 6 months. It was his last attempt. You've been climbing, and your final game, your last idea, turned out to be a success. I mean, behind every successful product in the store, where you see it at the top with millions of installations, there are, first of all, 999,000 games that didn't make it, and secondly, dozens of games made by that developer to figure out what it took to make that game, to come up with that idea. Therefore, I wish you patience, my dear young developers. Invest your efforts into products. We don't want to witness the chase for quick profits, for copying or cloning and publishing it somewhere, slapping on some clickbait logos. We want to see a journey with a meaningful destination, a journey to some higher place, to some more interesting mechanics, to more advanced graphics. Because when you open Yandex Games, you don't want to see clickbait fathers and so on. You want to play something nice, something you find interesting. I log in wanting to spend 5-10 minutes or even half an hour looking to enjoy myself, to play, not just passively watch. So try to make games that you won't feel ashamed of later on.
Thank you, guys. I think it's a very positive message you're sending to young developers, especially since many different tactics are now being used. I think you're aware of this. Your point that the web is the perfect place to start is something I strongly support. I believe it's the best way to prepare oneself for mobile development in the future. Very many people, there was some kind of grinding, especially about 6 months ago. Yandex Games had a great number of developers who believed in the new traffic. Meaning when you first upload a new game, it is given some initial traffic to help gauge the metrics. And they built a kind of conveyor. We upload a new game every 3 days consistently. They did it with the belief that they wouldn't get any more traffic afterward. It gave the impression that they believed they were entitled to that traffic. It wasn't about their game. For them, the game's quality wasn't the issue if it didn't attract traffic. Because, as Evgeny pointed out, it all depends on the design of the game, what assets it uses, how it captures attention, and whether it misleads or not. It can be well designed, but within the first few seconds of playing, you realize it's not worth your time. What you're talking about is an entirely different approach. Because these people prioritize profit above all. They're just after the money, wanting it quickly and as much as possible. And it seems to me that they're profoundly misguided. They end up creating dozens of meaningless games.
Clones.
Clones, yeah, they have nothing. And from the point of view of lasting impact, nothing will happen. What you're talking about is drastically different. You're talking about focusing on the project. So many game developers struggle with accepting feedback, which you and I have already mentioned.
We've seen that too in our own work.
What do you think? Is this an issue of maturity? What do you think?
Of experience, I think. It's about gaining expertise. I mean, now, as opposed to in the past, as Evgeny has pointed out, it was difficult to get any information from the players. Back in the time of Flash and even when social media started, when games on social media appeared, it became easier. As communities started developing, only at that time did we get an opportunity to gather some kind of feedback. And this user feedback influenced the industry in an awesome way. You should listen to the players if your goal is not just uploading a game and playing it yourself, like being happy about having a game on a platform. You know, it's an easy thing to do now. You can choose any platform you like. But if your goal is to create an awesome product and earn profit, you should study your players anyway. You should take into account their reviews, their analytics. Like I said, there are loads of tools. You can use any of them. You've asked about A/B tools, soft launches. All of them are powerful tools that help make the product better. And you should use them to the max. There are so many tools and a lot of information on the internet about all of this. You can read it. It didn't used to be available. It's drastically easier to find information about game development now. For anyone, you mentioned your nephew, he's 12, right?
Yeah, he's 12.
Wow, awesome.
I'd say this information is not always helpful.
Yes, you need skill to filter it effectively.
Some of this information can even be demotivating.
You know, on my way here, I gave it a read. I checked what people recommend for web development for Yandex Games. It made my hair stand on end.
Who are those advisors?
Well, I'm not going to mention any names. You know, I distinguish three different types of developers who release games on Yandex Games and other platforms. Professional developers, that's what I call us, as we've been doing it for years. Occasionally, we release some mobile titles, transferring them to the web. So we transfer a mobile game that's been around for 15 years, but we also consider new games. We have a team, we have an opportunity to invest in the graphics, we have titles, we have franchises, and so on. Next, there are indie and solo developers. They are young, they have small teams, they are still learning, and this is the most vulnerable category. I would like to get my message across to these people first. You know, everything I've said is addressed to them most of all. I don't want them to be tricked by various types of dealers who would advise them to copy, to clone, to release dozens of games and charge money for this.
For fast effect.
Right, for fast effect. Clearly, at some point, it was working. But now the market is maturing, web games are developing, following a traditional development path similar to what we saw on Steam, and the same happened in the mobile market long, long ago, where you really could release a game and, at the starting stage, get some traffic from the platform. Back then, there were fewer games. For example, when Red Ball 1 was released, it was among the top paid games in the US. Who would let you in there now? One could only dream of such budgets now. It was a specific phase of development where you could get a certain level of traffic because there were fewer games and there was enough space on the shelf initially. That's no longer the case. Clearly, the market is developing, a platform is developing. You should be able to adapt. You can't make games your whole life. For 10 or 15 years without having learned anything, without transferring anywhere, just doing the same thing. Many who didn't evolve have left the industry. A huge number of publishers, even major ones, have shut down too. It's a constantly changing world. You should monitor it, look out, see what's going on around you. And you must create something, not just look around. If you love games, you must have gaming experience on other platforms. On Steam too, where there are many mid-core projects. You might transfer something, get some ideas there, but do it creatively without just direct copying, just serial copying.
What about the third category? You mentioned three.
The most troublesome ones. These are the dealers, who include professional developers, young developers, and dealers, who seize an opportunity for quick profits and encourage others to do the same.
They lure
People into their info business.
Like cults.
What would I do? I'd actively seek out information, sort it, and filter it without taking it for granted.
I see. But first of all, there are a few cases among Yandex Games partners. There are several cases of young developers around 19 years old who started in their early teens, and they've embarked on the same journey you described. They were busy making their game. They weren't afraid of gathering feedback. They weren't afraid of going back in some way. It can happen sometimes. It's objective reality that you have to accept. It's difficult. There are cases like this, and I personally am very happy that our platform helps these guys find themselves in life, use their skills. It's really important because the gaming industry is a good place. It's fair, it's transparent, and understandable.
It's fun.
It's fun, yeah. In a way, of course, it's awesome.
Yes, it's enjoyable, but at the end of the day, it's still work. It's still a job, an awesome job, but still an awesome job that gives us a lot of pleasure. But I think any kind of job can give you pleasure. Here, maybe it's more enjoyable than other places, but not for everyone.
By the way, can you offer any advice on how to approach it? Now, for you, it's clearly a profession. You have achieved both great success and results, always understanding your reasons and goals, knowing the purpose behind it.
We have put our business processes in place. Professional game development is not quite about games anymore. It's not about games as such, but we still do our best to pursue what inspires us. But at the same time, we calculate, we think, we analyze. Everything we didn't have to do in the past now needs to be done. Perhaps it's not the most fun aspect of game development. Analytics, market analysis, ESO and so on, marketing materials, all kinds of sideline things. But overall, I think the core of game development, the joy and excitement it provides, hasn't really changed. I mean, everything directly related to the projects, as opposed to the peripheral tasks, the extra work involved. It's as fun as ever. We make games. We play games to continue creating them.
Personally, I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. Working in something like banking doesn't interest me. Although I'm trained as a coder, I've never been drawn to something like building databases. I've always wanted to just make games. And we've been doing that for 15 years already.
It's interesting how people find their calling in this industry. I'm quite old, but I was little when I started. Back when the first game consoles appeared, Dandy and Sega. And even back in that time, I already knew that I would do this, that I would work with games, that I'm very interested in this, interested in many aspects of this. It's great that we've all gone this way to find ourselves where we are now. It's good. Let's wish.
I second that.
Great topic. My friends asked me what console to buy for a kid. I said, buy a console like Sega but without a slot for cartridges. They are already in there. And sometimes it's combined with Dandy, Sony, and Game Boy, and so on.
Nintendo.
I said, buy this. The kid will develop a taste for gaming. No ads, hundreds of games, thousands of hours of gameplay. No subscriptions or hidden fees. You can develop a refined taste.
Perfect start.
Like with music, you know. Sure, we listen to what we like, whether it's rap or anything else. But there are some things that you have to know.
Classic.
Classic in a way. Classic rock and just classical music. Like, it's good for you to listen to Michael Jackson.
It broadens your perspective.
Right, broadens it to know how complicated music can get. There are some catchy pop things. And then there's music with greater depth. I personally love Nintendo games. Nintendo Switch is perfect. Especially for a kid too. The great depth of gameplay and everything. It's awesome.
You play more than a kid. Come on.
You know, I have a fundamental question to ask. When do you think is the right moment to abandon a project? Let's imagine a team that got fired up by an idea, made a game. They thought that it was absolutely phenomenal. They're convinced it will be a huge hit. They start showing it to other people, and people say, honestly, it's not that exciting. On the one hand, a developer is leading a battle against himself. Like he is told not to do it, but he feels he must do it. It's a test. On the other hand, there's objective reality, where at some point it's really better to stop investing your time, your efforts in that gameplay. It's not working. It's time to think about something else. For the same team to start working on a different project, to look for a new idea. What do you think is the trigger for deciding to abandon a project?
You know, it varies. It really depends on the specifics of the project. I've already touched on testing overall. There are many types of tests, and you must start as early as you can, checking your mechanics and the core of the project as a whole. Check how it's played, how your friends like it in the first place. Your closest circle doesn't always give you objective feedback, but it's a start to gain initial insights. First-time user experience, as it's called, you can check it and find problems. The sooner you spot and fix these issues, the easier it becomes for you. Most likely your chances get better. But each new stage makes it harder to let go of the project. You inevitably grow attached.
Yeah, this matters too.
Right. Well, I mean, you should be able to do this. You need to learn how to do it. First projects are the hardest, especially when you realize you've invested 2 years, and for the last year, nothing seems to go right.
The way you're talking about it made me think about a relationship with a girlfriend.
More or less, yeah.
We're on thin ice.
You know, you just sound a lot like that. Like when you're building a relationship with a girl and realize that it's taking you nowhere.
Very close.
And you have to end it at some point.
But a project is your baby. You're 100% attached to it.
Nikita and I have just returned from a conference. We were in Ulyanovsk at Stachka. It was a week ago. There was a game exhibition, a little one, about 15 games. I remember one game with a kind of a man of about 50 with a beard, right?
Yeah, an older man.
The game was like a survival game, right?
Right.
A straightforward three-dimensional survival game. I asked him how long he'd been working on it. 5 years. How can I tell him to dump it? The gameplay is very simple. I ran through it very fast. He said, you didn't go through this, you missed 10 quests here. There was no prompt that I missed them. I was just running to some place, to a place where the level design was luring me to an interesting part. He told me that I should have, but there wasn't any tutorial. But according to the presentation, there's much more content than I saw in those 10 minutes. There's hours of content there, and he's clearly put in a lot of effort. How can I tell him to dump this game, and why is he making it? Is he making it just to earn some quick money? I don't think so.
Not what I thought.
It's just a project that makes him happy. A project where he expresses himself, feels like a creator. He has his purpose. Now let's consider another example at the opposite end. It's our studio. It's development as a business. Each month we release 2 prototypes for 20 or 30 minutes of gameplay. We don't have the luxury of investing money and our time in something that doesn't work. We must understand it as fast as we can. Otherwise, we risk running out of funds and potentially shutting down. We must understand it as fast as we can. We do it in iterations. We check hypotheses over 1 or 1.5 months. At most 2 months creating a prototype. And if the initial metrics are bad, we dump it immediately. It happens really fast, no tear shed.
No, I cry into my pillow every time.
But Nikita might cry.
But actually, yeah, we check the metrics. Some metrics are borderline, there are very many nuances. And as I've mentioned, we work with a publisher. They help us with that. Our team often gets bigger for certain projects. We get new designers to lead these projects. They become attached to them, which can be psychologically challenging. But our projects are big enough, and we don't spend too much time on their development. But we had some friends who worked on hyper-casual projects. These are the most simple games with just one mechanic. Their studios could churn out 2 or 3 prototypes every 2 weeks. They had a lot of staff, finishing 2 to 3 projects in just 2 weeks. And most of these were eventually thrown out. It's a very challenging process.
It's kind of data-driven on the one hand, ruthless.
Yeah,
Absolutely merciless.
especially for the developers, I think. People are working hard in the industry anyway. They want to create an awesome product. But with hyper-casual games, extensive testing is mandatory. And checking. It's as data-driven as it gets. To the extent that people don't even think about gameplay. They just make and release a project and check it.
I don't want to recommend going to any extremes. I think there's a golden middle between understanding the data-driven approach, understanding which metrics to use, what your target is, how you can check it all, and release to the market, and between what you're investing in that project, your creative process and all. How do you combine it all? It's certainly not an easy task.
I think young developers can take a lot of risks. They can afford that.
Take risks.
While they can afford it, their costs are minimal.
They can work as careers.
Awesome advice.
It's often rewarded, and it gives some unique experience to players. It can really pay off. There are many instances where projects succeeded, and it sometimes happens unexpectedly. Evgeny mentioned Among Us, a project that made it in 2 years, or even 2.5 years after its release. All it took was one streamer discovering it. Just as the studio was about to shut down.
There are a lot of cases like this in the industry.
Yeah, a lot.
In the last couple of decades, we know all these examples.
And those developers were taking risks, creating something unique. They didn't do what everyone else was doing. They didn't check their marketing as we know it. They wanted to make an awesome project they found interesting. When you are young, you should take risks, you should try. The chances of success increase when you do.
Well, thank you, guys. I think we've thoroughly analyzed the situation. Our discussion has provided comprehensive insights, which will, I hope, be useful for young people. Now, let's discuss the oldies. Lately, I've seen a lot of core mobile developers come to Yandex Games at various stages. Some are at the stage of porting, some at the stage of making a decision whether they want to do it or not. It's happening all around the world, in fact. Many might not be aware, but among our audience, Some don't realize that Yandex.Games is an international platform. Around 20% of the traffic that we get has nothing to do with the CIS region. These are players from other countries, other regions, maybe Europe, maybe Asia, anything. We, as a platform, are eager to continue expanding our international reach. My question here is, what advice would you give to developers in this context? What should they pay special attention to? What are the key differences between web and mobile platforms? And my other question, to take up a new topic, hyper-casual games became extremely popular at one point. And this was the aspect that significantly influenced the allocation of budgets. Because the top publishers, if we check the top international ones, featured the hyper-casual in their game portfolio, to which they allocate millions of dollars to attract traffic. But the LTV is not very high for the hyper-casual. When comparing mid-core games with hyper-casual, the difference can be up to tenfold.
The production costs are a bit different.
Yeah, it's different. The economic model is different. It seems to me that the hyper-casual was a key factor in driving up customer acquisition costs because they bought loads of traffic.
They oversaturated the market.
Right. As they were testing prototypes and so on, loads of things. Would I be correct in saying that as of now, both web and browser games have basically become for mobile developers a full-fledged additional source of profit and traffic? How would you assess the prospects?
We'll say it together. Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Maybe it's not been a long time since we've transferred to web games, maybe 6 months. We have one game going. We're launching the second one this summer, a runner. You don't have many runners, by the way. Unlike on mobile, so the competition is less intense. We want to check it out, to try it. In our income bracket, the web takes about 15-20%, which is quite
very impressive.
Very impressive indeed. Therefore,
Good passive income.
for professional developers, I'd recommend to act faster, port as soon as possible. If you didn't sell your rights, if you have some old titles, even if those titles didn't make it on mobile, just because of the high competition. In our portfolio, we have a dozen games that are of very high quality. They are playable, some have 8-hour-long gameplay, but they didn't succeed on mobile because the competition is incredibly high. Only a small fraction, maybe 2 or 3% of games in certain niches make it.
Even less, actually.
Sometimes our SPI wasn't good, sometimes our playtime wasn't good.
Just one mistake.
Just one parameter can be a deal breaker. So eventually we don't make it. And we have plans for these projects. We are preparing our internal stack of technologies that will enable us to adapt these games quickly, optimize them, incorporate a built-in SDK, get everything set and ready to make everything look cool and playable for web users. Why not? It's a good story. We believe in this. We want to invest in this. We're planning our second title this summer.
The size.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions. Our runner, we didn't think about it when making it. There are problems with the size of the build. We need to compress everything so that users don't have to wait a minute for it to load. There are different rules there. But we hope to make it, right?
We'll try to.
We have a lot of content.
Super. I'm actually very pleased to hear this. And for us in general, for my team and me who work with partners, success cases are always awesome. When it all starts with a developer asking questions like, web? What? Games in a browser? Is that still a thing?
It was like 10, 15 years ago.
No, actually, it's quite widespread. We conduct hundreds of meetings with all kinds of developers. Here's what I can tell you. I started working here about 2.5 years ago. When we started, I would contact major mobile games from around the world and they didn't understand what I was talking about. These guys are like people riding a burning train. They are so successful on the mobile. And here comes a guy who's talking about some web, some browsers, suggesting they need to consider porting. You said it right. There are image risks involved. Because if a game is well known and successful on mobile, it should perform well on the web too, or it's a risk to their reputation. They have to support it, allocate a team for it. Running operations on the web? Are you serious? It used to be like that. 1.5 years of work later, no matter how good we were at it, and how many meetings and talks we conducted, if we didn't have success cases, we just wouldn't be able to make it. People would not get the point. But we've achieved a significant number of success stories with developers who initially weren't even considering the web, didn't know it was alive and didn't think about it. And now it's much easier for us to conduct any talks because some kind of agenda has been formed on the market that the web is doing okay. Clearly, Yandex Games is a part of that. But there are also other global platforms participating. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that in the next year or two, the web could experience a major surge in licensing. Exclusive rights acquisitions. We're already seeing this trend.
There are some cases.
There are some platforms.
They have approached us.
No doubt about it. There are some platforms that really buy it all out. As soon as a network shooter hits the web market, that's it. It will last for a month or a month and a half. And then that's it. Someone will buy it out on an exclusive basis for just one platform. I mean, the web is actually, by the way, do you think it will recreate the business structure that exists in mobile? Or will there be some kind of exceptions, differences?
Well, you tell him.
At the present moment, what we really like compared to the mobile market is that we work with the mobile market through publishers. We don't work with platforms directly. Why not? Because the expertise of a modern publisher implies that they have not just separate people, but whole teams that do optimization, buy traffic, do analytics. And of course, if the team is big enough, it works. But consider a small team of 15 that releases several games per month for testing. Such a team can't afford to maintain all these departments. Therefore, all the work is conducted through publishers, through their expertise, through their traffic purchase, and all that, but our team only does the development. As for the current state of the web, we work with the platforms directly. In particular, with Yandex Games, we work directly. We get the analytics directly and the traffic purchase directly. And any technical help, they even do the QA for us. But if we get back to making a game for a mobile store, with 15,000 types of Android devices, we must test everything. But here they do all of this work for us. Any help with testing for a certain TV? No problem. So, I don't know, let's wait and see. It was hard for me to predict where I would be in 15 years. If someone had asked me, how do you see yourself in 15 years? What will you be doing? It's very hard to see the future. Hindsight is always easier, of course. But if I have to approximate, I'd say that it's going to be growing. The web market is going to expand. New teams and budgets will be entering the market, along with new users. Ultimately, everything is centered around the user. If there are users, if everything continues to grow, you're currently at around 30 million, right?
Actually, the platform's average MAU is now 39 million.
39 million?
Has it grown that much recently?
Over what period? We watched a video from 2 months ago, and it said 30. Do you really have that kind of growth?
In 3 months, I think.
You may get 50 soon.
Look, our MAU is calculated based on users who played a game. But if we check visits, how many people just come to the platform, the number will be twice as much. even more than twice.
I see. It's more objective.
But that's how we count.
You count objectively. You aren't after the numbers, you count honestly. If you have that kind of growth, if users keep coming in, who will make purchases, watch ads, you might introduce subscriptions and such, they'll likely stay on the platform. They find it convenient even now. Logging in basically gives them a native experience, and it's cross-platform. They can use TV sets, other devices, desktop computers, and so on. Phones, tablets, everything works. It's convenient if people keep coming and play more than one game. If they stay on the platform, and we'll do everything we can for that, it will continue to grow, attracting more teams and budgets. And the competition for paid traffic will intensify since not everyone will be on, since the shop window doesn't have space for everyone, unfortunately. Of course, smart algorithms, recommendations, all of this is in place. Nevertheless, there's a certain window where there's no place for everyone. If the number gets bigger, there's competition already. Yet this competition pales in comparison to what we see in the mobile market. We're hitting the market with our runner and our red ball, and we think there are 300 runners on the mobile market. Subway surfers and a long tail.
300 are the ones you get to see.
As for Yandex Games, there are just a few.
Not just a few.
Just one or two.
They are there, but their quality is what matters.
There are good ones. Omnom, is it of bad quality? And their character is good.
It's well recognized.
We often see videos about Omnom and Red Bull together. The children's audience is the same, so we hope that it will work. We want to launch a runner now and see how it performs, what it will be like. You can't compare that level of competition.
Of course.
100 of runners with 10 subway surfers alone, and a few games. So I believe there are still many untapped niches on Yandex. We'll be trying to carve out our space within them. The bar of quality, even for the games in a certain genre, is not set as high in terms of art and the production costs. It is enough for smaller teams.
We'll do our best.
So yeah, we've honestly placed our bet on being a part of this story, possibly even adapting a part of our business to this, and
That's awesome.
Speaking about the web, here's what I'd like to add. In terms of development, we always have growth potential. And the platform is relatively new, you have things to improve. I'd say that in the mobile market, the stores also have things to improve. And they've been around for a while. Yet, within a year of working with this particular platform, there's been a trend. We have seen tremendous growth. I express my respect to the entire team.
Of course, at Yandex Games, we operate as one cohesive unit, and what we value most is the honest and positive feedback from players and our partners, developers.
As for the growth, you've said it yourself that the audience is the primary driver for platforms. If you have an audience, you'll have growth in money, in teams. The trend is great.
Look, we've undergone many internal changes, especially in terms of our content policy. I'm not sure if you're fully aware, but when the platform was founded, our goal was to accumulate.
I see.
For a platform, content is essentially the digits that are being accumulated.
But you also have to attract.
Yeah, accordingly, at some point, some bigger developers, bigger titles started coming to the platform. Certain games started growing, pulling a bigger part of the audience. You've said that around 15% of your revenue stream comes from the web. There are many such cases. There are a lot of mobile developers who earn substantial money on the web that are a substantial part of their overall cash flow. This success is fantastic, but it also compels us to evolve and rethink our platform's vision. Initially, we were accommodating games without much curation, which was challenging. When I first started at Yandex, one of my first questions was, why do we need this? This game has almost zero traffic, no responses to the support claims and so on. Why is it here? But the vision was, no, it's awesome.
Dead weight.
But we have this game. But now you might have noticed our approach has drastically changed. We've removed a significant amount of content recently. Dead content, super low popularity content, prohibited content because the moderation rules have changed.
We've been a part of this with our copyright claims.
Yeah, it's a necessary procedure for us.
Another case.
If you ask me, the platform looks much better now. If I am a user and I receive recommendations via my email, the current listing is much nicer.
That's 100% true. It's definitely become nicer for users. To be honest, there used to be more trash content.
Of course, you are 100% right.
And many brands bet on quantity, not quality, because you gave them this opportunity. Now I can see that the products are becoming of higher quality. Your moderation checks it for certain things. Now we are trying to launch one more project on Yandex Games, but we haven't passed the first moderation. The moderators sent us a detailed explanation and gave their feedback additionally, which is great too. It shows that your moderators are genuinely engaged in evaluating these games.
And it's surprising because this contrasts sharply with mobile platforms like Google Play that just ban your game. And in some cases, they've banned the accounts of friends and colleagues. With many games, the result of many years of work. With the line, "You've violated the privacy policy."
Why?
What exactly did we violate? They don't reply. They just delete an account with 100 games. So when we witness communication in a human language, in the Russian language, and they're saying exactly what you need to fix, SDK issues and so on, and even about the gameplay, very detailed feedback, it wins us over.
They always add feedback. Awesome.
It's a good moderator.
It's a great part of the service. We love getting feedback, and it always feels nice. And this guy works with this a lot, so we should listen to him.
True.
On the one hand, you might think that strict initial moderation might deter many emerging developers who are just finding their way and may struggle initially to find their footing, but they should familiarize themselves with the rules first. There are instructions. Having such feedback from support, you can fix all of this. But nevertheless, there's a certain level of quality, and the platform isn't ready to lower it. Why? Because they care about users. Who likes to log into a platform, click on the games, and discover that only 1 in 10 games is okay. The rest have bright logos and have nothing inside. Who wants to spend time on this? Everyone loves recommendations. Everyone loves quality content. So this is the right way to go. Of course, it's not without its challenges. But in this aspect, the mobile stores already have this in place at a much larger scale. If you don't update a game for a couple of years, in my experience, it'll get removed. Everything is being updated all the time. And there's this rotation.
Yeah, another advantage of the web.
So if you work on the game, if you keep it updated, and there are players, there's motivation for you to keep supporting the game, just do it. If you don't, I think it's even fairer to remove the game and make a new one. Or use your old game to update it or make a new one. I mean, it's a normal process. It's normal, but unfortunately, developers take it too seriously. We've had these kinds of conflicts with our cloned games. We tried to explain to them nicely that they couldn't use graphics from our game.
Tell them about the threats.
They throw a pity party. We are beginner developers. We want a way to make ourselves known. I'd advise them to make their own product. There's a fine line between direct copying and creative reinterpretation.
Reinterpretation, yeah.
Yeah. Naturally, any game is a combination of various things we have in our minds. You played something, you saw something, and so on. Every game has elements that resemble others, especially in the genres that are very strict. A lot of things are borrowed.
Borrowed.
And mechanics can't be patented, you know?
They generally aren't, but it happens. Ours aren't.
They aren't globally.
You can't do it globally.
But we're talking here about clones. You're OP in a different shell.
There were some cases.
You know, this OP topic is very complicated and multifaceted. But I fully support the point you've made, that you can rethink other people's ideas. It enables you to find new possible solutions people will like. It's much cooler than just making clones.
We actually have an unspoken rule in place of 80-20. We're trying to repeat 80% of content in some way. I don't mean clone, I mean transfer, because players recognize it. They know how to play it. It also can be problematic when you give a player a unique experience. They don't know how to play it. It's another difficulty. And 20% is something unique, new, something to get his interest, to trigger him. So we have this unspoken rule in our company. There must be something recognizable for a player. When it's in a ratio of 80-20, it gives the player a new experience. And at the same time, they play something familiar, recognizable, understandable. It's not so hard for them to get involved.
To get on board.
It's a huge problem, actually. How to make the player understand and realize everything at once.
The genre has been formed and we work in certain genres in the mobile market. If we make idle games, we make them. These game mechanics can be found in any other idle arcade. The mechanics of transporting, stacking, and so on. But we have to make a new setting and introduce new mechanics. This is what creates a new game. It gives the player something new in their experience, in their playing, something fresh. You'll be better off avoiding direct copying.
In the mobile market, there are a lot of cases where the 20% is the setting, the unique setting that hooks a new audience. It's something that turns this audience on. Sometimes it's just a copy, sometimes it's something good. There's something unique about it. There are good cases like this, good projects. But you're better off making something of your own instead of cloning us.
Well, yeah, my friends. I have a feeling that we could spend 2 more hours talking. It would be no problem for us at all. But still, I don't want our episode to take such a long time. I would like to thank you both for your collaboration. It's been wonderful reaching this point together. Everything's going well. Your game has launched successfully. It's doing great. We're happy to know that you have plans for bringing more projects to our platform. I remember our fun meeting in Turkey when you and I were drinking champagne and talking about the web market, if it was worth entering and what the prospects were. It's fantastic that we've met again under these new circumstances. I hope we are to meet again in an equally nice, positive key. Now, I'd like you to address your Red Ball players. Tell them something. We have a lot of them on our platform.
They're requesting to add costumes.
We read reviews.
We'll try to optimize it all. We'll need to work with animation. We want to add costumes. Red Ball has been around for 10 years. I mean, Red Ball 4 on mobile devices. We already have a new part, an episode, we're going to release it. We don't know on which platform it will happen first. Maybe at the same time, maybe on the web first or on mobile. So we have a surprise in store.
Unique content.
We're going to present this surprise to our players. Maybe this year, maybe next year. Well, wait for it. For the time being, past the levels we have now, keep defeating the bosses. Remember your childhood. People write to us a lot that they played as kids. So they saw this game, remembered it, and now thank us. Well, it makes us happy. Wait for our next title, Red Ball Super Run. A Red Ball runner. I think we're releasing it this year. Thank you. Thank you for playing. We can't do anything without our players. We make games for people to play, for people to have fun, make purchases and watch ads. It's normal. This is a good win-win situation. We give something to get something in return. A nice symbiosis. That's why we're paying so much attention to our products. We don't want to participate in any kinds of conveyors, any copying and cloning factories, fast money factories. From our experience and that of our colleagues, we know that you're better off playing a fair game, a long-term one, for the player's benefit, and it will pay off. That's all.
Nikita?
Well, I can say thank you. We are here only thanks to you. It's been nice talking to you guys. To you, Nikita, thank you for playing. It makes us happy, and we'll try not to disappoint you. We'll try to meet your expectations. We're going to make it really awesome.
Well, my friends, thank you very much again for being our guest today. We're looking forward to meeting you again. We wish you success in everything you do. Thank you, everybody who has watched and listened to us. We sincerely hope that you've learned something helpful and positive. Today, I've been hosting the most wonderful, nicest people from the gaming industry, Yohoho Games, Evgeny and Nikita. Play Red Ball 4. Check out the awesome games these guys make. Well, and I wish you strength. I wish you patience, as we've touched on many topics that concern young developers. We wish you good luck. Bye.